and welcome to Hang Out with Ashwari. And in today's episode, I have a very unique story to tell you. And it's a story of strength, it's a story of confidence, resilience, and faith, and also courage. And I'm going to be bringing someone to you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hang Out with Ashwari, Sandra Aruba, all the way from Lagos, Nigeria.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And just before I let you introduce yourself, I want to let everyone know that Sandra is my baby girl, all right? And I've known her for many years. We're in the same church. She was in my brother train, and we've done a few things together. And when I heard her story, I said, this is worth sharing so that everyone can actually learn from this. Thank you, Sandra, again for agreeing to do this. And please go ahead and introduce yourself. Let's meet Sandra.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sachwa. It's nice doing this with you. Like you said, you've known me for a very long time. In fact, I was one of your baby girls. Learned from
Yes,
you
we were
at a
acting
very
baby
young
girl.
age. I remember how I used to come and learn beadworks, and mommy was so good to me. Yeah, so my name is Irenuba Sandra. I am an architect and also an interior designer profession, and by profession, also a practicing architect. I've been practicing architecture for 9 years. I'm a mother of twin boys who are still growing, and I'm happy to be doing this and happy to talk to everyone and also be a source of encouragement to someone out there today. Thank you.
And like we said, thank you so much for that. Sandra's story is very unique. Just tell us a little about a background about your story. Let's start with that. Tell me a little background of your story.
Basically, I'm a young girl who has always been determined and resilient. I'm one of those, I would say, young girls who, at a very young age, have always wanted to achieve goals and make giant strides. I wanted to be somebody who is recognized in the society. If you know me, people who know me had known me for always trying to do something. I'm always working,
That's
I'm
true.
always out there. Basically, my story is one that I used to tell, like I used to say, my story looks like an African magic movie. But, it's funny how it happens to be my reality. But it's one of those things. Every time I think about it for like some years, I just feel like, did this actually happen to me? How? I see it in the movies. How did I get here? How did it get this way? It's a story of
Mm,
some of us, I guess, will still be in that mess. You have this dream and somebody comes your way, like, oh, this person looks godly. Oh, he's a godly brother, he's a godly sister, he has to be good, and all of that. And something leads to another, and somehow you get pregnant. And then, the
mm,
next thing you're pregnant and you're feeling like, wow, I'm already a disappointment. For someone like me, I'm an only daughter, and my parents has placed a lot of expectations on me, and I am someone my father will brag to anybody and everybody. I'm proud of my daughter. And at that point where you just graduated as an architect, where your parents are thinking of your next plan, and then boom, the parents just said, I am pregnant. And it feels like a joke. Like I could remember the day my dad found out I was pregnant, it was so funny. He acted like he didn't know. And he was like, what did you say happened?
mm,
Are you sure you're not feeling fine? He even took me to his clinic and he was checking, like, oh, is he paining you? Is he paining you? I was like, Daddy, I sent you a message. He said, what's the message? I said, check it. He looked at it and said, you are what? Get out of my office. Yeah, you're joking, you know? And then being pregnant, the stigma of you feeling like a disappointment. And I was young. I was just 23 going to 24. I was quite young. And then at that point, yeah, I'd graduated good and fine. I had a lot of things I was doing. I could bake, I was literally working for Guinness even during my BSc days. So it's not like I wasn't any money. So I was doing something for myself. But I just felt that, that disappointment stigma. And I was like, okay, since he wants to get married to me, why not? And the funny part was, it was after my marriage crashed, my parents actually knew that I did not get pregnant out of my own will. So it's more like, so I know there are still some women who would have gotten to that level like me. For example, you don't know how to calculate your ovulation cycle and you are just that person. I was that person at that time and I trusted this person. And this person said, oh, you're fine, you're fine. And boom, I was pregnant, like I said. And I said, okay, since he wants to get married to me, why not? And that was another blunder I made, you know. And I got pregnant, I got married. In fact, from the marriage, in fact, the preparation of the marriage, the disaster had started happening. But there's always a way you try to cover things up and tell yourself that nah, nah. Imagine like 2 weeks to your marriage, one of your so-called brother-in-laws is calling you and forming like a guy who you gave your number to and telling you, hi, you gave me your number, you forgotten. I'm that guy. I want to come and see you. Imagine stuff like that, and you get to find out like a bit to your marriage that one of your brother-in-laws was trying you to know if you were probably a loose girl, you know, stuffs like that.
Mm.
Somehow,
Oh,
I
wow.
guess I thought
Wow.
things were controllable, and I got into the marriage, and from the beginning was a disaster, and you know what it would be. Obviously, it was a disaster. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Wow. 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 And again, I'm so sorry you went through that. So, and if anyone is still wondering what we're going, what we're aiming at, is that Sandra here used to be married, and from her story, you can tell that she got pregnant out of wedlock, and then she decided to seal it up. She felt, okay, since at this point, okay, just to avoid, because according, you just heard that she's an only girl, and I know her that she's an only girl. Not just, I mean, she was daddy and mommy's baby girl, so you can see, and so she felt like, oh, she was a disgrace. I mean, she has brought stigma to the family, and now she wants to make it right by getting married to the person that impregnated her, which is one mistake. Like, because you're pregnant for someone doesn't mean the person has to be your husband.
true.
That's, we can talk about that later. But tell me, how did you meet him? Like, what was the first encounter like? When did you meet him and how? What was tell us about that.
That's one funny story that have I really told people? I think just my family after everything happened. So, like I said, I was one SU girl. I could imagine the first day I posted on my Facebook that I was divorced. I saw one of my junior secondary school chatted me up and like, Senior Sandra, you used to be SU president. Like you got divorced. And I laughed. I was like, wow. I was like, I stay a Christian, so I was actually a church girl. I was a church girl, yeah. I worked for Guinness and all of that. Normally, people would have thought I was very, very exposed in the sense that I'll be kind of really out there, like girls would say, like, you know what's up. I wasn't. I was just sharp when it comes to making money. Have you had that scene? I think I was dull. Yeah. So apparently, before I have dated some people in the past, and I would say I had a very terrible dating pool kind of because I was a bit of the one who we give and then I get taken advantage of and all of that. And at that point I said I wasn't going to date. And boom, there was this guy who came on my DM on Facebook, sent me a message, talked, we became friends. He looked like a godly brother, like a godly brother. We met on Facebook and started talking. Unknown to me, though, he actually got my contact from a mutual friend who he had dated and who happened to be my family friend. Yeah. So I didn't know. I met him online, and from there, because I used to come to Lagos to buy stuffs, I used to sell handbags, very good luxury bags when I was in school. So I used to come to Lagos to restock since I was in school in Epo Mambusanli University. And Through that, we met one on one and we saw. Yeah. So literally, I met him online.
Oh wow. Wow. Yeah, so the fact that you met him online, that's not even the problem. Because I've seen marriages,
True. That's
that were met
very
online.
true. Hmm?
Yeah, so that's not a problem. So yeah, but that will bring me to my next question. Then you put met online, and then you started dating, correct?
Yeah.
You were in a
Yeah,
relationship.
when we met online, we started talking. He was a sailor, an able seaman. I, an architect, like I said, I've always been somebody who works, I'm busy. And he also was
Yeah.
busy. So we started dating. We'll talk over the phone. They were always traveling and all of that. So basically, we dated for about 9 months, less than a year. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was after my graduation. We had seen twice prior to before my graduation. So in the whole period of dating for 9 months, we saw three times. The first was I came to Lagos to restore goods for my business. The second, he came to Ekpoma. In fact, I think that was even the first red flag I would have noticed, but because I was young and naive. Imagine somebody traveling all the way from Lagos to Edo State without giving you a notice. And because he has your house
oh,
address, just knocks on your door and tell you, I'm at your door. And I'm like, hmm? Is that possible? And everybody that knows me, my friends know me, I'm a guy's girl. I am friends to a lot of guys. I grew up in the midst of five boys, including my uncles making like
yeah.
seven, and then studying architecture even made it worse off. So most of my friends are guys. Like I literally stay in my friend's house, having guys. We just work together. And I was in one of their houses when he called and I'm like, where are you? I said, I'm home. He was like, no, I'm at your gate. I was like, hmm? That's my gate all the way from Lagos. I was like, no, but you said this morning you're in Sierra Leone. So I was trying to like place two and two together. You know,
Yeah.
I took a bike from University Gate to my house in Emado and I got there and I saw this guy. I was like, what? You're literally in my house. He got pissed, we talked and all of that and settled it. And that was the second time we saw. The third time we saw, I just graduated and
Mm.
he was supposed to come for my graduation. He was the person I was dating, but he couldn't come. He said they were about sailing and all of that. And when he was free, he just said, "Oh, can we just at least celebrate your graduation?" And okay, and we traveled. So that was the third time, and that was how I got pregnant. So basically, we dated for 9 months, and we saw three times, and the third time I got pregnant. Yeah,
Wow. So you did it for 9 months, and then three times. You only out of it 9 months, you saw three times. There were no
do
other
we know that?
one
Yeah.
of failure. Yeah, that is not enough to know someone. That is,
Yeah, it's not
yeah.
enough,
So
true. True, because we never sit in
yeah,
the same space. We just,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, on the phone is not enough. So, but why? So, were you people talking frequently on the phone during the 9 months while you were not together?
Yes,
Like how many times a day?
yeah, we do talk frequently, kind of. Like, yeah, we were talking. We were talking actually.
Mhm.
That's why I said we were talking. So I felt like there was this gospel brother. He's a Christ Embassy member. By the way, he took me to Christ Embassy. A lot of people say, oh, I would have
Oh,
left Christ Embassy after everything. I told them, I got to Christ Embassy. I met Pastor Chris. I listened to the way he preached the word and I felt it was good. So I looked at what I was gaining and not the human being that brought me into it. And, so he was actually, when they say those tongue speaking brothers, he was more than a tongue speaking brother. In fact, he was an award
wow!
giving brother. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm,
wow!
yeah.
Wow! Wow! Mm. So and then you people got married. So during the 9 months, I know it was over the phone. Did you were there like red flags that made you feel that this person is going to hit me when we get married? Did he ever hit you during the 9 months at any point,
No,
or was he at some point very angry at you, like very angry for doing little things? Did you pick anything like that during courtship?
no, he didn't hit me during relationship. I don't think if he ever hit me in relationship, I would have ever used my senses to marry him. Never. But he had some very
Okay.
funny tendencies, some very funny characters. For example, like I said, imagine somebody traveling from Lagos all the way to Edo State.
Mm.
And you
I
know,
mean, maybe he wanted to surprise you.
so
That one might
yeah,
not be a
different kind
big
of
deal
surprises. I called you. You said you were somewhere and you were on your way to Ekpoma.
to
Crazy
you.
from Lagos. Now, you know, the funny part was this attitude didn't stop. It continued in marriage till the marriage ended. So imagine you can
Oh,
travel on sail on water, comes back to Lagos, and he won't let me know. And at 1 a.m., somebody is knocking at my door. And I'm like, who's that?
wow.
And I open, he's the one. You know, he even actually said it in my father's house. And one of my uncles that's a lawyer had to ask him, are you looking for a thief in your house? That you come to your house without a notice. Like, who does that? So it's more like somebody who has a trust issue in himself. He doesn't even trust himself, not enough to trust somebody else. So he
Mm.
had that problem. But for me, I didn't observe, I didn't take notes. And that was one red flag. Two red flag during the course of the relationship, despite the fact we dated for 9 months, he has an aged father. His mother was late while we were dating before we even got married. I remember taking the risk all the way from Ekpoma to Delta State to see his father once. Now, when I got there, the way I met his father, there was not that very compared to where how I grew up. I know how my parents are. My parents are not perfect, but I know how it is between my parents and us, the children. I didn't see that bond as such. And then his brother, one of his elder brother, came to meet me there. And you know, I know how my own family will welcome people. I didn't get that welcome as such from his sibling. And at that point, maybe I would have thought to myself and tell myself that no, this thing wasn't working. But I knew I was not ready for marriage. I had been saying, even when he started talking about marriage from like 5 months, I said I wasn't ready. So I guess at that point, that was why he felt, okay, maybe she gets pregnant, she'll get married.
Mm.
Maybe she gets, because when I even got pregnant, it was funny. I fell sick in school. And lo and behold, I kept on falling sick. I just graduated. I was my friends, the guys, all of them were laughing at me. They're like, Sandra, so you're falling sick, go to the hospital. I was like, I'm not going, I'm fine. In fact, the guys started cooking for me. At a point, they were like, Sandra, let's take you to the hospital. You're getting too lean. I was like, no. I called him and I'm like, I'm not feeling fine. He said, you should be pregnant. Instantly, he said that. And I was like,
Ah.
yeah, my friends were witnesses. Those guys will never forget that. That was Shoke, Hillary. They were there. They were architects. They're like, hmm? He was like, you should be pregnant. I was like, how? Why will I be pregnant? He was like, if you're not pregnant, you have taken something or you've aborted. It sounded really like alarming. I was like, wow.
It was,
So at that point,
it was confident.
I
Yeah.
had to take the courage to take a pregnancy test, and lo and behold, I was pregnant. So I was like, whoa.
Mm. Mm. So when you discovered that you were pregnant, what was the first feeling? What happened?
I felt terrible. Like at that point, I don't know if I would have said maybe I should have just kumaki myself at that point because I felt really disappointed in myself. I had great dreams. Yes, I knew I was going to get married, but I wasn't ready to get married at that time because at that time of my life, I had just made some different moves, meeting a lot of senior architects who I felt that I was going to be someone like, oh, I was moving to Abuja. I was going to do this, I was going to do that because I just came back from Abuja. And, you know, I had met people, I felt I was going to climb a lot of great ladders. And lo and behold, Sandra got pregnant. Just like a stop sign. It was painful. Like it was one hell of pain I felt. I didn't see that coming. Yeah. And I couldn't even do anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, you see, even though you didn't see that coming, like sometimes when I know when you look back now, you won't regret it because I mean your sons are here, and some people would have aborted that pregnancy, but you did not, which is also great. I mean, we make mistakes, but I'm glad that I mean that's all behind. That's all behind you right now. So that is awesome.
I know
So when did you first notice?
my parents' minds.
Go
They
ahead.
thought of abortion so many times. My parents would have gladly aborted it. They will because
I
It was
know.
a handful. Him, on the other hand, was not helping issues. I got pregnant. Nobody was seeing him. He only called and said, "Oh yes, I'm ready to get married to her." And my parents were not seeing him. Like, he was not there. My friends were basically there. It was. I think that was another red flag for me to have said no to the marriage. But because, like I said, I felt I was already disappointed getting pregnant. I just felt like
Mm,
marriage was going to fix it. But I didn't know marriage would make it
mm,
more complicated.
mm. I don't fix stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm. So, and then after a while, you had to leave the marriage. Can you tell me what led to you wanting to leave the marriage?
A lot of things. Domestic violence was the order of the day. First of all, he
Mm,
was he was, well, I call it a very wicked. He was wicked. He was wicked. I remember after, in fact, during the marriage preparation, he already started showing different kind of characters and all of that. But I just felt it will all go. A month to my marriage, there was this story. He came up and said, "Oh, his brother's pastor said I have married husband and married spirits."
oh,
I liked. Oh, they also said I'm a very kind person. Oh, like I'm kind, and I'll be so successful. But if I'm successful, I would obviously not respect him. And they said, "Oh, I have marine husband and marine spirit. If I don't go for deliverance, I'm not good for marriage." I was pregnant a month to marriage.
mm,
Oh, my dearly people, Sandra went for deliverance, so a mountain of fire. My parents didn't even know. They didn't know Jack. I came to Lagos and they took me to the Mountain of Fire church in Ajangbadi. I was there fasting with 3 months pregnancy. I fasted. I didn't even know I was carrying twin at that point because I had not done INSCA. I just knew I was pregnant. I did fasting, finished the first week, and they said they gave me repeats. And I did second week.
really
I
fast.
was delivered of marine spirit and marine husband. It's in fact, thinking about it sometimes just make me laugh and I ask myself, my parents did take me for deliverance. All through they gave birth to me till that age. And after the second week of deliverance, I went back home. No, I was in Lagos and I had swollen feet, very terrible swollen feet. I was with him and his sister and I ran temperature through the night and they gave me anointing oil and water, a pregnant woman. And they said they prayed. Lo and behold, the next week I traveled to Edo State to my parents, and my father saw how swollen my leg was. As a medical person, he said, "Ah, why is my leg swollen?" I said, "They said that's how it is for pregnant women." My mom said, my dad said, "No, your mother had six of you and never had a swollen leg. So why will you?" And
Mm,
instantly the man took me to his clinic, ran some tests, discovered that there was high protein, and the shocking fact was I was 18% short blood. So that funny.
mm,
So at that point, all I thought of was, imagine I didn't travel home when I did. Imagine my
mm,
parents were not medical professionals to have checked. Two things would have happened. Is that I had died or I had lost the pregnancy because I had 18% PCV. It was really low. My dad called him and said, "Did you see her before she left Lagos?" He said, "Yes." "Did you see her leg was swollen?" He said, "Yeah." "What did you give to her?" He said, "Ah, we gave her water and anointing oil." He told my dad. And my dad was like, "Do you know her blood percent is 18?" He was like, He was shocked. My father said, "Yes." My father said, "They need to transfuse her some blood right now." And as funny as he is, still the same nonchalant person that he is, my parents had to do the blood transfusion. All we got was 10,000 naira to my account. And I just smiled. But for me at that time, all I felt was at least my parents were still there for me. And, they nursed me and all of that. Still, same few weeks to the marriage, he
mm,
came up and said, "Oh, he cannot rent the house now. So I have to stay with his sisters." I was like, what did you say? I said, "Okay, if that's the case, no problem. You know where my parents stay, right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "No problem." After the marriage, I told my parents, "Whenever you come from wherever you go to, you meet me here." So when he saw I wasn't taking it, he decided to rent a space. Then I found on his message when his sister wrote, "Oh, you want to rent a house for Sandra and her family, Abby? You better use your sense." So when I saw that message, I
mm,
was like, wow. In my head again, some of these things will stop. Maybe because they think that I'm probably from one broke family. Yeah, my parents don't have it all, by the way. It's still really okay to give me
you're
so many
comfortable.
things of life. And then marriage happened. And after marriage, a day after marriage was when I started having my nightmares. And just imagine your sister-in-law telling you that, did my brother tell you my brother's wives don't wear trousers? Oh, you wear trousers, you fix nails, you are wearing latches. Me that wear short knicker, you are telling me that they tell me I do not wear trousers. I wear shorts, like pretty short stuffs. And it looks like film shock. And lo and behold, they gave me some very funny looking clothes. And Sandra was still very young. I just had to cope till I get back to my house in Lagos because immediately after marriage, he took me to his elder sister's place in Benin. We spent some days there, about a week before we came to Lagos. And that was where I had my scan. So even though for the first time that I was having twin, I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we came to Lagos, marriage started. And before we left, my parents actually begged him. In fact, precisely my dad told him naturally. He said, left to me, I would not marry my daughter to you for no reason. My dad had kicked against it from the very onset. He said there was something about this person that he can't actually figure out. He wasn't being sincere and all of that. And my father begged him in the presence of his own late father, his uncles, and everybody, and said, please, you can do every other thing. If I don't give her food to eat, don't even buy her car, don't buy her anything, but don't touch her. If you ever feel that you are tired, please ship her back. Don't pay the transport. I will collect. My father had to tell him that he just put her in a vehicle. Ship her, don't pay. I will like I will carry her for free. Because I was not even, I know, and all of that. And my dad begged. And then again, my dad begged him and said, please, this is her first pregnancy. She's young and she has gone through a lot during the pregnancy. The pregnancy stressed me. I threw up every other day that pregnancy. Every day I was throwing up. Everything I ate, I threw up. And my dad said, you know what? Take her to a general hospital. It's her first. Let her register in a general hospital. He said, not everybody in a private hospital has a good conscience, but the general, they have different you have different what will I call it now, different professionals, different quality hands. And then when we got to Lagos, it was more like a battle, a tussle between him and my dad because he's always like trying to counter whatever advice my dad gives. And like, oh no,
Wow. Funny
he
to
wants
find.
to he wants to take me to a
Okay.
private hospital. And because I was not willing to go to a private hospital, he refused to do antenatal registration, refused to pay. I was at home saying I was 6 months pregnant before I registered for antenatal. And then, like I said, marriage started the very first year of marriage because I was pregnant. So all he was doing was cheating. He would call his girlfriends from 10 p.m. and they would literally talk till maybe 2 a.m. They would discuss business. And we were staying in a two-bedroom. Only one of the rooms was even having a mattress at that time. And the pregnancy, like I said, was stressful. So at the time I'm trying to sleep at night, he's making his calls, talking to his girlfriend. I don't talk all through the night till like 3 a.m. and all of that. It was actually irritating. And all of this, I just kept looking. I fall sick. He was not that person to help you. I'll fetch water from upstairs, downstairs, and he was not that person to help you. After I couldn't have it for like the first 2 months, I said, okay, in church, Anglican church will tell you when you are married, the man's family is not your parents. I called his dad. Being the father, is only his dad that is alive. His mom is late. And like I said, see what is happening. Oh, please talk to your son. And the man was like, why would my son not help you? I'll talk to him. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. And then the call continued. I was One day I was forced to take one of the numbers from his phone. One of my friends was like, why will you be keeping quiet? You have to talk. She's also married. She was like, you have to talk. And I called the lady. I said, I'm so sorry. Oh. My name is Sandra. I don't know if Chooks told you that there's a pregnant woman living with him. I didn't even say I was his wife. I said a pregnant woman is living with him. So please, at the time you make your calls, when this pregnant woman tries to sleep, can you please just be fair and consider the pregnant woman? I'm not saying you should not call him, oh, but when he's 12, please just have mercy. And you know that day he almost beat me up for the first time.